Goodbye, my people. Now, welcome to this channel where we give now Munge update. As Chief of Defense Staff, Dr. Ngozi Orabuizi, they dropped this update with it as the Biafran Liberation Army stormed the place, can't set them up on fire. All those places where they call skills acquisition center, where they won't use, bring more Boko Haram may come enter Biafran territory. I'll make now hear the update from Prime Minister.
Thank you very much. I would also like to have the latest video from the United Nations General Assembly of the current Vice President of Nigeria, who was the founder of Boko Haram. Thank you very much.
Today, we are all witnesses to the heart-wrenching situation in Gaza and other Palestinian territories. We cannot discuss war and peace, conflicts and resolution, or humanitarian imperatives today without reflecting on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict that has been raging since 7th August last year. Of course, the conflict predates this period and has been simmering for a better part of half a century. What it tells us is that the international community has failed to live up to the spirit and aspirations of the United Nations to rid the world of inequality, violence, and domination of one people by another. Justice is antithetical to revenge. Freedom is an inalienable right and a natural entitlement that cannot be denied to any people. The Palestinian people deserve their independence. They deserve to have a home of their own in territories already recognized by this very assembly and by international law, which is being routinely ignored. Nigeria continues to urge efforts to bring back on track the two-state solution that offers the prospect for a new beginning for the region. Nigeria reaffirms to supporting United Nations peacekeeping operations. We recognize the need for Africa to build strong and professional armies to meet the multiple challenges we face. Consequently, we reiterate the call for international support to operationalize the African Standby Post, in addition to the provision of requisite support and resources to ensure the upgrade, take-up, and effectiveness of a center of excellence on issues of counterterrorism in Africa. Mr. President, reform of the Security Council is critical if the UN is to strengthen its relevance and credibility in our rapidly changing world. Some permanent members of the United Nations Security Council have offered encouraging, if tentative, indications of support on the issue of reform.
Thank you very much. My fellow Biafrans and listeners from across the world, with the clip you just listened to, the last one is the current Vice President of Nigeria, who is the founder of Boko Haram. The first video you listened to was the former president of Nigeria, who also was one of the Islamic pillar, fundamentalism pillar in Nigeria and in Africa. Nigeria with this has demonstrated to be enemy of America and enemy of the West. While the Biafra will continue to support the state of Israel, have you seen that this is a black and white that can never mix together? Nigeria have advocated for the independent state of Palestine, which we are not against as a people looking for freedom. But what we are against is terrorism against the state of Israel. And the 7th of October attack, terrorism attack against Israel, Biafra people continue to condemn that terrorist attack. Nigeria, having advocated in 2024 for the independent state of Palestine, should be bold enough to also accept the outcome of the Biafra self-referendum in peace or in pieces. I want you all to understand that Nigeria can never be trusted America can never trust Nigeria. The West can never trust Nigeria. Nigeria remains an Islamic fundamentalist country that all the agenda is to support anything anti-West and anti-America. It does not matter how they pretend with you today, they will end up becoming your worst enemy. The earlier the world, the Western world and America accept the state of Biafra as only true allies in the West Africa, the better for them. Examples are many. I will use Iraq. I can also use Afghanistan. After 23 years, America pumped billions of dollars into Afghanistan. Today, Taliban are completely in charge of American weapons that America struggled for 23 years to stabilize that country. Nigeria will do worse than Afghanistan if Biafra is not supported. There are several compelling reasons why as many as 50 million Biafrans who voted in the ongoing Biafra self-referendum used their vote to advocate for independence of Biafra. The reasons are very numerous. And I will take it one at a time. From the historical injustices against Biafra people, the Nigeria genocidal war against Biafra from 1967 to 1970, also known as the Biafra War, was a brutal chapter in Nigeria history. The eastern region, known as Biafra, declared independence as the Republic of Biafra after enduring many years of systematic marginalization and violent pogroms in the northern Nigeria and other parts of Nigeria. The war resulted in an estimated 1 to 3 million deaths, children, primarily from starvation due to the blockade imposed by the Nigeria terrorist government. This tragic history has left deep scars in millions of Biafrans and, of course, in Biafra consciousness, especially when the post-war reconciliation was superficial and incomplete, with the IRRR. The continuous reference of the Biafra War serves as a painful reminder that the Biafra people were once persecuted and betrayed by a country that was supposed to protect them. That betrayal has tripled today after over 50 years. We have seen the killings of Biafrans and destruction of their businesses across Nigeria, not just in the northern Nigeria today, but also in the southwest Yoruba land. In Lagos, to be precise, we saw pogroms against Biafrans in Lagos after 2023 election. And I will take it on the economic exploitation. As Nigeria celebrates their failed independence, the division of Nigeria into 6 geopolitical zones without the consent of the people was an injustice taken too far that have cut the wound of the war even deeper than as we thought. The eastern region, which is supposed to be called Southeastern or Southeast region, in accordance with the geography, today it is called the Southeast instead of the Southern region. They manipulated the geographic manipulated the demography in order to fight the freedom and suppress and subjugate Biafra people not to rise up. The region which would form the heart of modern Biafra is rich in natural resources, particularly oil. Despite this wealth, the artificial and the fake Southeast feel disappropriately excluded from the economic and political benefit of their own land. The so-called Niger Delta, which majority falls within the proposed Biafra borders of today, generate a significant portion of the Nigeria wealth through crude oil. Yet, that region remains underdeveloped, suffering from poor infrastructure, environmental degradation, and poverty. Yet, they are faced with Nigeria terrorist army bombardment, like the recent killing in the Biafra Okoma community in Delta. The argument for Biafra is also an economic one. The resources of the Biafra people are being siphoned to enrich a far distant federal government in Abuja, while the region remains underdeveloped. That is coming to an end with the declaration of the restoration of independent state of Biafra, coming this year, 2024. My fellow Biafrans, we also suffered what I call the political marginalization within the Nigeria state. Since the end of the Biafra war, Biafra people have constantly been sidelined from the Nigeria political landscape, despite being one of the three largest ethnic groups. No Igbo-speaking Biafra person has held the presidency since 1983. Key government positions, security appointments, and the military leadership role are disproportionately skewed in favor of the Northern Hausa, Fulani, and Western Yoruba elites. Many Igbo-speaking Biafrans believe, and of course it's a fact, that this is a deliberate exclusion from power to prevent their voices from being heard in decision-making process. While those who happen to be very close to power have sold their subconsciousness to self-aggrandizement, those who may have positive agenda that could shape the country's future are not allowed. Today, we are no longer agitating for inclusion, but for complete freedom of Biafra people, where the aspiration of every Biafran will be achieved, where the potential will be attained, where Biafrans will compete among nations in innovation, where free education will be mandatory, where our hospitals will be equipped, and the national insurance scheme will be completely functional. My fellow Biafrans, compelling reasons why Biafrans are leaving Nigeria are many. I'm just taking a few of them today. We have also cultural and ethnic disparities. Nigeria is an amalgamation of hundreds of ethnic groups with distinct cultures, languages, and worldviews. Biafrans, with their entrepreneurial spirit, democratic social structure, and emphasis on individual merit, often found themselves at odds with a more hierarchical feudal system, and I call it nomadic system of the North, and the communal political structure of the Yoruba West. Many believe that the deep-seated differences between the ethnic groups in Nigeria makes it difficult to forge a cohesive national identity, which is fact, leading to continuous frictions and disharmony, and I call it dangerous diversity, which will never ever work in the modern age. Biafra, on the other hand, would allow the people to govern themselves according to their own culture and cultural value and system in a confederation and a confederating state of Biafra. The insecurity and violence orchestrated by the Nigeria terrorist state against Biafra people from inception, ethnic violence, Islamic expansionist violence, banditry, and terrorism have been on the rise across Nigeria, with the Biafra people often caught in the crossfire. In particular, they come in the form of Boko Haram, Fulani herdsmen, and other extremist groups. They have targeted civilians, with the government sometimes supporting them to offer adequate protection. In many cases, the Biafra people are specifically victimized, with the Nigeria state either unwilling or unable to ensure their security. The renewed call for Biafra is rooted in the fact that an independent state of Biafra would be better equipped to secure the lives and property of its citizens, free from corruption and inefficiencies of the Nigeria terrorist government. I want to remind you that a few years ago, heads were being beheaded in Biafra land. Today, that particular insecurity killings of Biafra have ended with the emergence of the Biafra Defense Force. And of course, with the formation of the Biafra government, both de facto government and government in exile. We are also facing, within the Nigeria state, youth unemployment and economic stagnation. The Biafra people are renewed for their entrepreneurial prowess, with successful business ventures both within Nigeria and across the world. Despite this, many young Biafrans face a high level of unemployment and underemployment. The Nigeria terrorist government inability to create an enabling environment for business growth and industrialization disproportionately affect the Southeast and South-South, which made up the entire Biafra land. The region, poor infrastructure, including electricity, road, education, hinders the full realization of the economic potential of Biafra people. An independent state of Biafra will prioritize regional development, focusing on innovation, trade, and infrastructure, on combat by the inefficiencies of the central government. Biafra, as an independent nation, will secure the Gulf of Guinea, and of course, end the piracy in the high sea, which has caused serious tension, carrying out international trade using the high sea and waterways. The emergence of Biafra will put an end to the piracy in the high sea. I want you to understand that the more you try to deprive yourself of this truth, the more you are caught in the cobweb of the truth. The resurgence of ethnic nationalism in Nigeria. We have seen in recent time the resurgence of ethnic nationalism caused by the dangerous diversity. Example of it, if you go to social media, you're going to find out there is a very big resurgence of ethnic nationalism